People who work at super fancy hotels, what kind of stuff happens that management doesn't want people to know about? Las Vegas, city of excess. People overdo it, drink drugs and die in their hotel rooms all the time. Same in Niagara Falls, spend too much at the casino and die in their room or jump over. We have a secret way in from the parking garage that leads to the executive offices. It's for prostitutes. The amount of sex toys left behind will blow your mind. Call me stingy, but if I put down money on gear, you'd better believe it's coming with me when I check out. $2,000 per night and this place has a serious rat problem. Could be worse. My hotel has silly rats. People often commit suicide in hotels. That way their loved ones don't have to find them. Also, so someone finds them. Many people are all alone, and if they died in their home, no one would know until the smell. Worked at the Luxor Casino in Vegas while I wanted to go to film school. People piss and masturbate under the gambling tables. I've heard casinos keep many slot machine seats in the back because of how many often elderly slot jockeys choose to soil themselves instead of going to the bathroom and potentially losing their machine. True? Edit. Damn, starting to think casinos should just put slot machines in each toilet stall. It's very common to have a dead guest. There is standard procedure for it and we take care of it quietly. I was once waiting for an elevator in a hotel pretty early in the morning. The doors opened and reflexively I started to get on, but it was filled with EMTs, a stretcher and the hotel's general manager. He politely suggested I wait for the next one. The patient had an oxygen mask on with some tubes leading somewhere. Later I noticed that the ambulance pulled off without the siren and waited for a stoplight. I suspect he was dead all along and they just made it look like he was unconscious and getting treatment. During housekeeping, hotels use different colored cloths to wipe your drinking glasses, cutlery, toilets and sinks to avoid contamination. They just didn't bother separating these clothes after wiping and moving to the next room. Yeah, that's just like in my office. Cleaning lady has different clothes for desk, kitchen, toilet, etc. but only one bucket with water. Did valet at an upscale hotel in SF? The number of times I parked luxury vehicles with drugs haphazardly, precariously stowed in obvious places always blew me away. Not surprisingly, those guests were great tippers and they learned who to trust. So many escorts too. Always laughed at dudes who'd come to the restaurant for lunch with a new lady practically every day, like he was showing off his catalog of women as if no one knew he paid for them all. My wife and I got married in 2009 and stayed a couple of nights in a hotel during our honeymoon. Cut to 10 years later, we decided to redo our honeymoon for our 10th anniversary, so we stayed in all the same hotels etc. Big shout out to Hotel Andra in Seattle. When we got to our room we have flowers and a bottle of champagne with a note about how thrilled they were we were spending our 10th anniversary there after honeymoon there as newlyweds. Turns out when we booked for our honeymoon we told them and they were able to figure out 10 years later we were there for our anniversary. If we redo the trip a third time, I will 100% make it point to stay there again if it's still open. I have a pretty interesting one. We know criminal enterprises have funded casinos in the past. I worked at Reveal Casino, now Ocean, in Atlantic City, before and after its opening. One thing they kept mentioning in our onboarding was that the triads were funding the casino. I thought it was super strange that these exes were just openly telling brand new hires. Probably a deliberate lie. You're much less likely to skim the hotel if you think the triads will come after you. A well-known luxury hotel and resort chain keeps a database of you. They get pictures from the internet and basically stalk you to create a profile. They put what you order to eat, how many towels you needed, what drinks you like, your kids' names and birthdays, address, phone number. Everyone working in the hotel has access to this database and can see your information. It's not all good stuff either. We know you were an asshole to Jen while you were staying in London. The one I was at had to remove cameras in the lobby because big wig guys would bring their mistresses and no evidence was allowed to be recorded. Michael Crichton, the author, said he spent a few weeks in a high-end hotel in London. He was writing a book at the time and taped notes to a dresser to keep track of the timeline and subplots in his novel. When he returned to the hotel a few years later, he found the staff had put bits of tape on the dresser, just as he had done years during his last visit. Front desk knows all the call girls. We give them water on the way out and sometimes call them taxis. Management doesn't like us doing it, but escorts tip well. Only work as housekeeper at a regular 4-star hotel, but probably about 25% of people either bleed or leave shit stains on the beds. It's truly atrocious how disgusting people are, especially when they know someone else is cleaning up. Even when they their guests, and the best tippers are the cleanest people. If someone fully shit on the bed and used towels to wipe, left cum on the shower doors, drank heavily and puked on the carpet in multiple places, and clutched the toilet, that person will not tip at all. But the person who barely used the full bed and didn't use the shower at all and was super clean and polite, now that's a good tipper. Up until a school trip when I was probably 17, I didn't even know to tip the housekeeping stuff. My family never did it, and we'd been to plenty of hotels. For this school trip, the teacher in charge reminded us on the bus about 10 minutes before we arrived to the hotel to please leave a tip for the housekeepers. And if we wanted to be sure it got to the folks actually cleaning the room, to leave it under the pillow with a nice note. We turn a blind eye to drug dealers and prostitutes more often than you think. They hardly complain and usually prepare huge bonds happily. Also, we don't give a shit if you're having an affair. When I worked at a nice hotel, the affair one was brought up in training. Never mention a person being regular, and doubly don't mention anything about their partner or the fact it's a different partner. That became a rule after some valet basically kickstarted a very nasty divorce with a wealthy guest. My parents have a hotel, and I've always been told to not remember a guest unless they remember me. I never thought about it before, but I'm guessing this is why, lol. This is a similar concept in Michelin dining. Some repeat guests will ask not to be acknowledged when they'd have different guests with them. My brother worked in an upscale hotel in Southern California. A morbidly obese guest sat on the toilet in his room, shattered it, got his femoral artery slashed by a chunk of broken toilet, bled to death, and flooded his room when the water line ruptured. My brother found out about it from the maintenance guy who found the body. Management made sure no other guest ever knew, including the guest in the room below the death scene who called in maintenance because water was running down their wall. I'm not even obese, but you somehow unlocked a new fear of breaking a toilet and slashing an artery. Thanks for this. We had a customer find the overnight front desk receptionist in the closet, passed out with something wrapped around his neck and his dick flopped out. Was some king play he used to do. Guy still kept this job. This is what I came here for, lol. A family member used to work at Opryland Hotel in Nashville. Yes, it's super fancy. For about a year, they had a phantom shitter, as in random dumps left in random places. It was always in corners where security cameras didn't reach. They figured it was an employee and had some ideas, but never knew who it was, until someone left and it stopped. This was about 20 years ago. Of course, I'm sitting in a bed at this hotel right this moment. Lol. My buddy was a dive instructor at a luxury resort on an island. One of the guests had a heart attack on the diving excursion before he got off the boat. The nearest doctor couldn't come for 24 hours, so they put the corpse in the guest room and cranked up the aircon. Of course, reception gave the key to the corpse room to a newly arrived honeymoon couple. They were greeted by the star of Weekend at Bernie's. Edit for clarity. Doctor was to sign off death, do formalities, not to save life. Mauritius, in the earliest 90s. I worked cooking at an ultra-exclusive resort in Utah, $312K per night. Nothing that exciting happened in my year there. I found a bottle in the tallboy, large fridge, labeled Christian Bale's breast milk, do not use. Most celebrities were nice, except for David Beckham. He specifically requested no staff members make eye contact with him. I had put in my 2 weeks and was really drunk on a day off and made a post on Facebook about how Gordon Ramsay was coming and I hoped he wasn't filming Kitchen Nightmares with us. I was fired within 24 hours, lol. I did to cook fish tacos for him and his family though, and I heard he complimented the dinner kitchen crew directly, particularly open kitchen, which is cool. Wait, I can kinda add to this. A guy I know used to work with a guy that is close with Beckham and he heard something very similar. Basically, Becks when he stays in the US asked for a no-contact style from the hotels because American hotel staff are painfully excited and he felt bothering by always-on nature of that service there. I think this is probably right. A friend of mine met him in a pub in the UK once. He had his dog with him and she made a fuss of the dogs, not even realizing who their owners was. And she said he was super nice and they chatted about dogs for ages. But maybe the fact that she didn't instantly recognize him was refreshing to him. My wife claims that the amount of people who shit in the shower far exceed however many people you think shit in the shower. Edit. 1,000 people have commented waffle stamp. You don't have to comment waffle stamp. Please stop giving me notifications. Okay, but this is true, and I know this because I lived in an all-girls dorm in college, and our floor lost bathroom privileges because girls were sitting in the shower and trying to force use tampons down the drains. People are disgusting and will continually surprise you with how nasty they can be. My lady is always telling me to get shower shoes. It definitely sold me on buying shower shoes. Why on earth would anyone willingly shit in the shower when a perfectly adequate toilet is nearby? Now I understand if someone suddenly comes down with uncontrollable diarrhea as a result of food poisoning and can make it to the toilet, but to do this as a regular thing? I don't get it. Porn shoots, and you know those carpets and upholstery ain't getting clean. Those carpets have such wild patterns, so the stains won't show up as well. These comments remind me that when I was on vacation last year, a guy, drunk, tried to do a backflip on the balcony and fell off. I wanna say it was like 10th floor maybe. It was pretty big talk around the city. Edit, he did not survive. Some drunk guy did chin-ups on the outside of 35th floor balcony during a party. 2 first times, all good. 3rd time, lost his grip and landed in front of the lobby. Night guard on duty never came back to work after seeing that. I used to work in accounts receivable for a couple of luxury hotels that were owned by the same LLC. We would open blocks of rooms for generic sports season about 8 months in advance. Due to high demand, this reservation had to be a 2-day, Friday-Saturday stay. Payment was made in full, $450, $800 depending on room type. Refunds were available only if you cancelled a month before the arrival date. When I first started in the position, I discovered $63,000 worth of reservations that had been cancelled on the time but were never refunded. I showed it to my manager, an absolutely incompetent woman who couldn't check in a guest if she needed to. She got back to me after discussing it with one of the owners. I can't remember how exactly she put it, but I was told to just forget the matter and not to mention it to anyone. I got a $500 cash Christmas bonus that year. Damn, $500 out of $63,000? That's not enough of my silence. Not a hotel employee, but associated with a popular convention that everyone would recognize. The convention attendees get so out of control that the hotel will only host the convention if they have a private security force. Since the private security isn't law enforcement or licensed, they do pretty much whatever it takes to keep trouble out of the public eye. Mostly it's locking people up in rooms or escorting them out of town, but they can get rough at times. But none of the convention attendees know they are there, and the hotel staff pretends they don't see them. Even those who run out of them don't know exactly who it was that grabbed them. We had valet service at our hotel, and due to huge amounts of theft and break-ins by bums in our lots, we had to go through guest cars and take everything of value out to hit stuff in our conference room, then put it all back in before we brought the car around. It was ridiculous, and we had to keep it under wraps. Wouldn't it have been more efficient to put a patrol on the lot? Human trafficking became so bad that the company gave us training on looking out for it. There is policy in place to knowledgeably cause you issue and pacify you. X. Routine elevator maintenance during a busy period because the tech travels around, and it's now or 3 weeks from now. The elevator did not have enforcing issues. Professionals are the worst guests for partying and puking everywhere and pissing in halls and breaking things and fucking in public areas. Lawyers, doctors, teachers, in that order. Whenever they had conventions, extra staff were on the next day for dealing with damage. Edit. I forgot to add overbooking as an example of dicking with people. We assumed not everyone would show on 100% occupancy night and booked more than we could hold. The rare time we did have everyone show, here's free stuff and a ride to X hotel. We even had friendly agreements with neighboring competition to let each other know when we could take each other overbooking. Can definitely confirm the second part of this. Used to work at a high-end lodge that hosted holiday parties, fancy dinners for software giants, and once excess speed all over a room, $13,000 in damage. We regularly had rich guys pull up in their Lamborghinis with a hooker. My favorite was the couple we had to essentially evict from their room due to smell and noise complaints. When we got in, there was dozens of designer shoe boxes and cold residue everywhere. The woman left with her foot hanging out the window and they drove away. Rich people are weird. Thank you very much for watching and see you in next video.